Now that Blade's Cold Visions has had some time to sit with us, I think I've done plenty of enough listening to give you guys like a good concise review on just some things that I've picked up on throughout the album. This is by no means going to be me like absolutely dissecting the album and going through it, but I do think that there's a lot here going on that I think is worth talking about because, I mean, the community's like absolutely in shambles right now, thinking that this could be Blade's last album. Sorry if that's a spoiler to anyone, but I'm assuming if you know who Blade is and you've listened to the album, that's why you're watching this video and not because the album's going to be new to you. So, yeah, if you haven't listened yet, go listen to the album. I'm going to get into everything here in just a second, but take a second, click off. The question that's haunting everyone right now, tearing the entire community to pieces, is Blade gonna quit music? Is this it for him? He dropped a pretty big bombshell on us with the end of Cold Visions with the song Can't End on a Loss. Cold Visions is Blade's 19th album to date, 30 songs loaded with fan service, so let's get into it. Now I've prepared some notes on my laptop, so I'm going to just look down and read off this, but now starting with Paranoia intro, I think it sets the tone for the project, needless to say. I don't think any of us were expecting some classic working on dying production, but I think that a lot of people wanted it for a long time, and I've heard a lot of older drainers talk about how they miss Evil Blade, and they don't like all the new stuff, which, I mean, I think is fire, but we've all heard people say that. The continuity of Drain Gang, like, referencing their older work has always been a very present thing in their music, but I want to make this video to kind of highlight a lot of those things and play into this idea of, Blade retiring. I'm going to do my absolute best to point out all these callbacks, but obviously if I miss one, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'm by no means a literary expert, so if I miss something, please feel free, drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear about it.
1,000 Smurfs on eBay, I was on shrooms, needless to say. On ranking, can't stop the rain.
Starting off with Wad Drainer, I think the first one I noticed is Blade straight up name dropping Ice Dancer with the line, "I'm living in Disneyland," which is very similar to his song Anything, obviously on Ice Dancer where he says, "Disney Dancer on ice." I think it's worth touching on the bar. So much designer, got sick of that, put it in the trash, we binning that. Let's leave it at that, stepping out in Converse and Vans. Because Blade has voiced so many times just how badly he hates being famous and how he's no different than anyone else. So he's tired of draping himself in designer and walking around like he's worth more than others. Blade throws out 3 more quick callbacks before the song ends, just name dropping Glue and saying Sick and also using X'd Out, which are 2 of the songs on Ever Since.
I flatline, I flatline, I flatline.
On Flatline, Blade calls back 2 Echo 2K collaborations with the reference of dissolving an acid in bleach, the reference being Acid Rain off of Trash Island, and an old song that I could only find on the Spotify page Drain Gang Archive.
I'm in my bag, 1 second then I'm back, 1 second then I'm back in the dark.
Blade reunites with Young Lean after their release of Psychos to flow on this new song 1 Second. Blade's reference in this song comes in a callback to Mean Girls off of 333 with the bar, "Back at the club with the Mean Girls, step in."
At McDonald's, get the sad meal. Can't you see your face is chalice?
In Sad Meal, Blade has a line where he states he's changing faces, changing names, which could be a reference to his use of imagery with the masks that he talks about in Keys to the City, where he drops the iconic "mask on my face, now I look like an emoji," and Haha, where he states, "got a mask on my mask and expense it with my life." Later in the song, he talks about not being able to sleep because of heavy rain falling, and does so with the line, "Heavy rain falling forever on an everlasting flame." The line, "Please stop talking like you know me," is similar to a line he had on Knightsbridge where he said, "You think you know me, are you a psychic?"
Cold visions wash over me, I'll make you free. Shades back out in Delaware.
On the song Fun Fact, Blade claims he's killed himself time and time again, obviously referring to his style, which has been something that's come and gone more times than I can count. The biggest one of the video probably so far being, "I'm with Lean, buying the Gucci store, it's like breathing air," which is obviously a reference to this legendary Instagram post. Throughout the song, Blade and Lean make references to Bane and Batman, a story which is famously set in Gotham City, which is clever because in the song, Lean refers to themselves as Lean Doer and Blader, which is something that Blade does in their song Gotham City. Blade also refers to Blade and Echo's album Crest by stating the lines, "Raise the flag, glorious in heaven, go ahead, raise the glass."
I got anxiety, you know.
And Don't Want to Hang Out, Bladee makes a callback to 2021's The Fool with the line, Drain Gang High School I enrolled, which is the same school Bladee mentions his football tryout line on Inspiration Comes.
I try to be normal, I'm too ill. It's hard to stay in my skin, real spill.
In the track I Don't Like People, Bladee directly references his song Red Light Moments off of Working on Dying with the bar, Red Light Moments, we go and still going, where he had originally said, Red light moments, we rolling the potent, going and going, going, I'm going. And finally, the reference that was almost bound to happen. Bladee references Be Nice to Me later in the song by saying, Approach me with respect, if you talk to me nicely. Later in the song, in verse 3, Young Lean shouts out two older Drain Gang songs, Young Lean's Hurt, which I know isn't technically Drain Gang, but come on. And Bladee and Ty Boy's I Will Make You Bleed, found again on the Drain Gang archive Spotify page with the line, I'ma make you hurt, Bladee say he make you bleed. Now I don't know if you guys realized it whenever you listened through End of the Road Boys, but this is like a very, very key song to the album. It's absolutely littered with callbacks and references to older Drain Gang songs, so I'm going to go through and kind of quickly list most of these, but there is so much going on here. This is kind of less of what he said and more of just like he's kind of playing around it. But in the beginning of the song, he references both a Ferris wheel and a carousel. And I just kind of think it's funny that he like chose not to talk about a merry-go-round, which is obviously a song on Exeter. And now here I have a slew of references to The Fool, where Bladee starts by saying, I don't mind playing the clown man they hate when I'm around, which is a reference to the Ego Baby music video where he kind of plays this jester, kind of like Joker character, which is also seen throughout the album with the imagery of the Joker cards. Bladee states, it gets ugly, it gets real, I don't mind, I proceed, and I describe what I see, I'm a visionary, ad-libbing with truth. The line obviously talks about finding something or maybe searching for something. This could be a nod to his song Search True, which is either a crazy stretch or one of the coolest little throwbacks in the album. Following that, Bladee name drops Desiree, the sixth song on the album. Bladee also mentions track 1, the intro, by rapping, If I See Demons in My Life, just as he mentioned on the full intro where he sung, and he finally wraps up this Fool theme flow by shouting out Trendy, where he states, one thing about Bladee, in faith I'm blind, one thing about love, I'm blind. Directly after this bar though, Bladee makes a reference to the predecessor to The Fool, which is his 333 themed bar, Reality Surf Might Break My Mind, an obvious nod to the beloved Reality Surf track on that album. Bladee ends the track with a few more small references about the glory and the fame that we've seen in Amygdala and Dream World, a song on Ty Boy's Back to Life, and has a bar about mirrors, which is the name of a song on Exeter, before dropping the title of the track, End of the Road Boys, a line in which Bladee references this tweet from 2018. In DOA, I didn't find a whole lot, but I did catch the line where he says, SG, obviously Shield Gang, walks up in the clubs with so much hundreds, man, this shit won't even fold. Another reference to an old Drain Gang song, While It Won't Fold.
I send a message to myself, man, you stupid bitch, get well.
In Message to Myself, I didn't find a whole lot of direct references, but near the end, Bladee does reference the tribute track to Vat and Rum, 5-Star Crest with Echo 2K, in which Gloria in Excelsis Deo Deo is sung after the first switch.
Red cross at the top, yeah, they stretch it, it don't stop. We 360 on the clock, really.
Just the title of Red Cross alone is already a reference to Yeses off of Crest. Outside of that, there weren't any noteworthy references to any other like little Drain Gang pieces, but Bladee does throw out another one of those lines about having a hoodie on and just wanting to be a civilian, so keep that in mind.
Money never made me happy, but it never made me sad. Shit had never made a difference.
And Lucky Luke, Bladee makes a cool reference to his two features on the Skrillex album, Don't Get Too Close, with the line, please don't get too close, you might get scorched. And Ty Boy in the second verse also plays into their social media presence when he says, Young Ty Boy, I don't read no book, I pull up to the bank and go to the moon, which is a reference to this legendary video.
Type of good, I don't read no books, man. Let me call you. Ooh.
the faucet running. Purple money, Easter bunny. I'm in Philly, only Sully.
In King Nothing, Blade in the chorus says, "I've been going back to cussing," which refers to the line in Hotel Breakfast off of The Fool, in which Blade iconically sings, "I'm a good boy" on the track, no cussing. He also says, "I've been enforcing the policy, no touching." Blade has been saying this throughout his career, but it was seen first and ever since on the song Who Goes There, where Blade sings, "No touching, I find it disgusting." And Other Side, the only reference I could find is dark tinted windows on the whip, let's ride, an obvious reference to Blade's song off The Fool, Let's Ride.
I'm up so late, I'm violently drug abusing weed.
On Flexing and Finessing, Blade spends most of the song rapping about how he's going back to his old evil Blade ways, but he does call back to the 9 is Up off of The Fool with the line, "Bust on the cross, but I'm not Christian," paying homage to the iconic "I'm not a Christian, but I'm busting down the cross" line. On False, Blade says, "Dress so fresh, coming down so clean," which is an odd to Drain story off of Spider, in which he says, "Come so fresh, so clean out of the bird bath," which in and of itself is a reference to his song Bird Bath.
Think about violence and fire. Evil things and moments been spent by.
And now I know this isn't the last song on the album, but to answer the question that I asked at the beginning of the video, we're going to have to look to Can't End on a Loss if we want any sort of answer to that question. In this song, Blade starts flirting with the idea of quitting with the line, "Every time I check the comments, I'm thinking like, do they even deserve me? I'm like you, I'm living, I'm learning," which just plays into this idea that I think as fans, like, we might have done too much when it comes to supporting Blade and idolizing him. I mean, you guys all have seen people treat Blade like a god in the music industry. Which, I mean, yeah, Blade's one of my favorite artists as well, but I can't think of a single person in the game that, like, gets treated the way Blade does or, like, put on this pedestal. And I don't know, I feel like if I was in that position, I'd probably be pretty stressed out, worried that, like, my every move is also gonna change some people's opinion on me or, like, things like that. But throughout the album, Blade has referenced just wanting to be a normal person or being a civilian, and that's something that isn't new. He's referenced that in albums before, and I think that just comes from, our gross idolization of Blade, which I've definitely done a big part in myself. Blade obviously goes on to drop the bars about quitting, and I think now's a great time to explain why I've looked so far into all the little callbacks and references that I found throughout the album. My crazy theory with this album is that Cold Visions is just supposed to be like a scrapbook, so to speak, or like a photo book that we can look back on and enjoy the memories that Blade has given us throughout his 10 years of music, his 19 albums. There's so much to be found within all of Blade's different albums, whether that's iconic bars or mentalities or stories, whatever it may be. There's so much to be found just throughout like every different album he's put out, because I mean, no two albums are really the same. And I think that's why we love Blade. I think most of us as people find an album that we connect with, as fans of him, but just like on a personal level. We all have, a different album or an album that we connect with the most or associate, our memories with the most. Now, I joined the game late. I hopped on the Blade train with 333. So there was plenty of lore already developed whenever I had like dipped my feet into this world. But I learned very quickly that there was so much that you could like get from his music on an album to album basis, or I mean even like on a year to year basis. Sometimes we go without new Blade music and we see him on Instagram posted up, with blue hair all of a sudden. But bottom line, when I look at Blade's discography, I can associate it with different parts of my life. I've been a fan for years now, and there have just been different times in my life where I've found myself, listening to a certain album more than any other Blade album. But playing into the whole photo book theory, I mean, you can believe that if you want to or not. I don't know if it, straight up says Blade is retiring, Blade is moving on from his alias, but whatever that may be. I lost my train of thought because my camera cut out, but if you want to believe the whole photo book theory, I mean, go for it. It's just kind of how I interpreted the album. Now, I think if Blade does retire off this album, I think this is the perfect album to do it. I think he's made an album before this that kind of closed his story, but I feel like if this is supposed to be, a photo book, so to speak, then this is the one that closes the loop, and this is Blade giving us this album that says here, like, thank you for all the memories that we've had over the last 10 years. I mean, there have been so many different songs and so many different styles, and Bladee talks about that in the album. So I really don't know if that's how this is supposed to be interpreted. I don't know if I cracked the code, but that's what I got out of it, and it makes perfect sense to me. I don't know. Whether or not Bladee is retiring is an answer that I'm gonna get at the same time everyone else does. But like I said, if this is gonna be the album he retires on, it makes the most sense, more sense than it's ever made. But he's given me his stories, and I think that Cold Vision is just kind of the period at the end of the sentence to wrap it all up. If you guys have any other theories, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm so down to read everything else that you guys have kind of gotten from this. But anyways, thanks for watching. Feel free to drop a like, hit the subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. But thank you for watching.